Welcome to part 2 of my Falcon Diff Bush video. Today's a fresh day, fresh clothes, ready to tackle the job. Started a bit late yesterday. Anyway, everything was going really well until it came time to dropping the whole rear cradle assembly. I didn't have this plate mounted far enough, or I had it on the wrong angle. I had this plate here that way. So when it came down without dropping, but then when it did come down, it leant forward. So I managed to pull it out from under the car. And then when it was sitting around, I was trying to think, how do I pull it apart without ripping everything out of it? And so I came up with a solution. I had my 2 jacks with a bit of timber and a bit of rope. That allowed me to lift it back up into position, to slide 2 big chunks of wood underneath. So now I can safely put my jack under it and guide it. I also went to the big green shed this morning and I bought another dolly for this side. So that's going to allow me, hopefully with the jack and the 2 dollies, to maneuver it back into place when it's ready to go back in the car. Before I get started hacking out all the bushes, what I want to do first is I'm going to take measurements on this outrigger on the left hand side, on the right hand side for this one, and the left hand side for this one. This gap seems to be a little bit bigger than that, that's fine. But what I'll do, I'll measure how far that's inset, same with this. So this is the left hand side diff bush, and I'm not sure if you can see it on camera, but it's starting to crack here. So the diff, I don't believe these diff bushes are that bad, but when I had it under load, you can actually see, especially on the right hand side, you could actually see this flex. So I had the handbrake on with a bit of acceleration, so you could see it come up. So yeah, time to change them. And also, while we're here, you can see the control blade bush. So it's ripped up the top. And from my understanding, and you can see tears on the side, this thing should be sitting directly in the middle, and it's not. So when the car was on the ground, they were more or less touching the bottom. So time for those to go as well. And check this out. Look at that. So yeah, time for these to be replaced. So I'm just loosening off these outriggers now and take them out so I can press my new bushes in. And this nut here is a 24mm. Due to the rear bush coming out easily, I only had to cut out the 2 front diff bushes. To do this, I used a thinner blade on my reciprocating saw so I could get between the joints in the rubber in order to cut the center section out, which didn't take long at all. The purpose of cutting the rubber is to remove the center section so then I could easily cut the outer diameter housing. Once cut, I had to force the center section out. Having a reciprocating saw helped massively with this job. Once the center section of the bush is completely removed, it's time to focus on the housing part of the bush, or the casing that is pressed against the cradle. For this job, I put on a shorter blade because I didn't want to damage anything behind this section while I was cutting. When doing this cutting, you will definitely smell burnt rubber. The purpose of this part is to make a couple of incisions into the housing of the bush. Once done, I got a screwdriver and a hammer and broke the rest apart, and the bush was out. This first bush probably took between 5 to 10 minutes to get out. Now it was time to remove the bush on the right hand side of the cradle. All I did here was repeat what I did on the other side. So all I need to do now is get some sandpaper, just clean up these little burrs in here, and I think we should be right. I've taken out the original bushes. Like I said, it only took 5 to 10 minutes. It was really easy. Take out the rubber section, a nice cut, a screwdriver and a hammer, and bang, away it came. I used some sandpaper, then I used some brake cleaner just to clean, sandpaper to clean any burrs. I don't think there was, but I think when they originally done, I saw some other cuts in there. So, but I've sanded everything. I've cleaned it with brake cleaner. Now it's time to refit the new bushes. So according to the Super Pro instructions, it doesn't actually say to use grease, or it didn't actually come, this kit didn't actually come with the grease. So this is the KIT210K hybrid kit. So it didn't come with any grease. It just tells you how to refit them. So what I'm going to do, I've actually got a press. So I'm actually going to press them back into place, and I'll show you that now. What I've noticed with these instructions, so it doesn't actually tell you what's up. So what I've done is, and I don't even know, there's like a little O right there. So what I've done is just marked it on the front. I'm just going to assume that's the up position. Now for me to get these in, what I'm doing, I've got a metal plate here because these rings don't fit behind unless I take the axles out, and I'm not going to do that. So what I've done, I've got a 5mm metal plate. I've drilled a hole in it. I'm going to put my bush in like that, and that's going to seat properly. And that's going to be up. And what I've done, I've got this to go over the top, so that just fits on the outer casing. And I'll put this in there. So what I need to do now is slowly, I'm just going to put this back on. I have to get a couple spanners. So set it all up in position. So now it's just a matter of using this contraption and pressing the bush in. One bush done, and it's sitting at the 7mm mark. And just like that, the two front bushes are in, done to spec. They have been recessed as per the ones I took out. So I think it was 7mm on that side and 5 to 6mm on that side. The instructions do say recess them. The Super Pro instructions do say recess them 5 to 7mm anyway. So what I'll do before I put the outriggers back, I'll do the rear diff bush now. And then when I put the outriggers back, I'll make sure I've got clearance on the subframe and the outriggers. All that's left to do now is fit the rear bush. And luckily I didn't have to do anything because this Nolothane one just came out. So yeah, got the Super Pro bush. Just going to line it up like I have with the others. Put it into position, press it in. What I've done, I've pushed the diff as far forward as I can, so then I can get my metal plate behind here. And then I just have to compress it all in. The rear diff bushes are pressed back in just like the front, but with larger collars. As per the instructions, I had to push it in until it was flush with the back of the cradle. Tick, job done. Once all three diff bushes have been pressed in, it's time to attach the diff back to the three bushes. To do this, the outriggers or diff arms needed to go back in first. I struggled a little bit with these, especially getting the bottom bolt into the hole. Once all the bolts were in by hand, it was a matter of getting multiple extensions for my ratchet to get the job done. Everything was torqued, and I went around and marked all the bolts that had been tightened so nothing was forgotten. The diff bushes are all completed now. The two front ones and the rear one, all brand new. Really happy with how it's turned out. Look, I didn't work at a million miles an hour, but I did work at a steady pace, so it did take me a little bit longer. I found the bushes going back in, having that Super Pro kit was amazing. It actually did help a lot. So recess them in exactly the same way as I found them. There's gaps, similar gaps where This is either called the diff blade or the outrigger, what I've been calling them. I saw in the diff blade in the Ford manual. I'm hoping the terminology is correct. The bolts to the diff for this are 105 Newton meters. So what I found when I was putting all this back together is these diff blades or outriggers, I had so much trouble lining them up to get the bolts back in again. With the rear bolts, because this was the bush that was in there and part of me wanted to put it back in, I actually had to trim the rear bolt. So I got a grinder, cut it, clean the edge up and put it in by hand to make sure it wasn't catching anywhere. So that's all in, torque to 200 Newton meters. And it's finally done. Next up, I've got to do the control blade bushes. So that'll be on the next video. If you like this video, hit that like button. And if you want to see more content from Modaufy Garage, hit that subscribe button and I'll see you on the next video.